To today's stream where we are going to go on the fascinating topic of subtitles. Anyway, so this is something that I worried a lot, that I worried about a lot. When I was sort of like in my early years of developing as a writer, it's like how do you pick subtitles? Should subtitles be? And I'll tell you, first, I personally think it's lazy to have section titles like theory section and the result section, right? I mean, it's true we're researchers, we're reporting on research, but we're also writing. We are reporting and writing, so we're also writers. So that's lazy. Like, methods, okay. Introduction, okay. Conclusion, okay. These have to be in every paper. There's not a lot you can do about it. But theory section, come on. Result section, come on. Now, I understand that in quantitative papers, they may be a little bit more formulaic, so that's what you have to do. But especially in qualitative papers, no. So if no, then what do I do? Well, I basically at this moment in my writing development, I work a lot with outlines, and I only begin to really write once I'm happy with an outline. So what I end up doing is I tend to use my outline titles for the section and subsection titles. Okay, so I just want to go with you through two papers. One that two papers that are published and one that I'm working on. So let's first go to my first MS quarterly piece. Okay, so this is something, and this is a little bit lazy. I admit, but actually I have some water boiling for tea. Let me just go and turn it off. Okay, otherwise we'll have background noise for the whole video. One sec. Sorry, everybody. I think that's a little bit better. Okay, so normally my theory sections are laying the groundwork for a model, and the discussion section specifies the model. So in my first couple of papers, I use this method of theorizing or of calling the theory section toward the dramaturgical model of the production of performance data in this paper, and then in the results in the discussion section, I would call it what? I'm still on the data. Let's see. Yeah, and then I'll have the model, right? So towards the model and then the model, towards the dramaturgical model of the production of performance data. That's the theory, and then the model. And the reason I did this is that the theory section finishes with the skeleton of that model, and then the discussion section really expands on that model. Okay, but then if you begin to see the subtitles here, it's basically an outline. It's almost like I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation. So this begins with performance data as a threat for impression management. Actually, this begins with impression management. I learned that you shouldn't have like a section title and a title right away. So normally I have an opening of the theory section. Here I'm talking about impression management in general. And then I go on the specifics of performance data as a threat to impression management. and then the structuration. So what are the factors that shape the responses to performance data as a threat to impression management, and then I explain what the current theory says about how people address the threat of data for impression management, okay? And I finish with my model, okay? So if you think about it, it's basically, here's why this is a threat, here are the constraints on addressing this threat, and these are the practices that we know in the literature that people use to address that threat. And then that's the research question, what other practices do people enact to address that threat, right? So if we go then to the discussion section, which I titled a dramaturgical model of the production of performance data, because this is what I'm doing. I basically talk about two levels of this model: the production of performance records and performance reports, okay? Then I talk about the constraints upon those practices, and that's it. That's the conclusion, okay? So you see that basically I use the same structure in theory and in the discussion, and in both cases, basically what I'm doing is I'm putting the major points, like it's basically the title of a slide, the point that I want people to remember, okay? So let's look at the 2018 piece and see what I did, okay? So in that piece, again, as I told you, the theory section is titled Towards a Model of Such and Such, and the discussion section is the model of such and such, okay? And so, again, I build my argument step by step. The model of representation when IT reports work automatically, and then applying this model to situations where employees report their own work. And in this one, because it's a longer subsection, I actually divided it. So I explained that IT can informate the representation of work, okay? But that managers may object to that. And because of that, employees have to report their own work, okay? So here we're going to subtitles, but basically what I'm doing is, again, slide titles. So there's a model when IT reports work automatically. Does that model work when employees report their own work? Well, it should, because IT informates the representation of work, but it doesn't because managers fight against it, okay? See, so again, it's basically the key points of the argument, okay? So here, this change through the review process. As you see, like the model here, it doesn't have the title of the theory section, right? It's not a model of representation where employees report their own work, because I really wanted to link this to the title of the paper, and I also wanted something that was a little bit more punchy. So I decided to use the name of the model rather than a description of the model, okay? And then I go step by step on the role of managers. So the role of managers in representation to transfiguration, what managers do, costs and benefits for managers, and the role of leaders in managers' practices. Then I move to employees and I list the tasks of transfiguration work, okay? And then I describe the system of transfiguration and then each element of the system of transfiguration, okay? Now, so again, it's like a PowerPoint, right? I just imagine that I'm presenting this paper and I ask myself, what would I title each PowerPoint slide, okay? This discussion is a little bit complex, so it has a second part, because The broad contribution is about the quality of information. So, and I talk about the 3 attributes of the quality of information under consideration work. Okay? So, what's the answer? Well, the answer is theory section towards a model, discussion section, the model. Okay? Subdivisions are in the theory section and in the discussion section. Think about what title would you give to the slides that you'd use to present each bit of the theory and each bit of the discussion. That title, which should come from the outline of your paper, is the title of the subsections. Okay. Now, if you say, well, but I don't like to do outlines. Okay, don't do outlines. You know, you're a discovery writer. That's fine. Don't do outlines. If you don't do outlines, at least do a reverse outline. So outline from what you have written when you finish the first draft. You know, it helps you like making sure that the paper is all right, but you know, it also helps you think about the major parts of your argument and find the useful titles, right? Because remember, a paper is something that people must read and understand. So if you have good subtitles, then that will help people understand and remember your argument. Okay. Now let's go to a paper that I submitted. Okay. So, where's the paper? Okay. So, in the theory section, I basically talk about the phenomenon that I'm studying, because I want to give the reader the groundwork to understand my data and my analysis, okay? So I'm talking about, this is a section where I'm sort of like summarizing the literature on agency in the upward flow of analysis in organizations, okay? And so I have the automatic specification, okay? And then I lay out the case for agency in the outward flow of analysis in organizations, and here are the main arguments for that case: the motivation to participate in the upward flow of analysis, the opportunity to participate in the upward flow of analysis, and then I say, okay, so if there are reasons to do this, and if there are opportunities to do this, then we can develop a model of agency in the upward flow of analysis. That's what this paper does, right? So, and so then what I say is, okay, so if I want to develop that model, I need to use this specific theory, which is the effective use of IT, and I describe that theory a little bit, okay? So, again, how am I dividing the theory? Automatic specification, manual agency-based specification, and then the theoretical groundwork to be able to build this specification from data, okay? Now, in the discussion, I basically talk about the agentic specification in the upper flow of analysis. That's the key part of the paper. And then I use this to improve the theory of effective use. And each subsection is one of the 3 elements of effective use. Okay? So, model, theoretical insight from that model, and that theoretical insight is divided into 3 parts. Again, it's a PowerPoint idea, right? If you had to present your paper to an audience, what would be the titles of the PowerPoint slides? That's what I do, okay? To help people parse the paper, understand the arguments, the structure of the argument, and then to help them remember that, okay? Now, what do I want to say to finish? Well, something that you can do, and this is actually what reverse outlining does, but you know, if you need something with more oomph than reverse outlining, you can just do a presentation. right? Just do a presentation. You finish the first draft, write a presentation of your paper and see what titles do you give to the slides. Please do not give discussion and theory, okay? Because when you title a slide, you need to do it in a way that communicates meaning to people, that people will remember, that it's not just theory or discussion, okay? So hope this was helpful. I encourage you to look at other papers, especially those that do not use theory and discussion in their section titles, to see what they do. Many people do things differently than I do, and as you saw, I evolved from the towards model structure into a little bit of a more nuanced structure for the theory section and the discussion section, and hopefully this was useful. Best of luck in your papers, and I'll catch you all